I was just 5 when I lost both my parents, taken in by an uncle who wore a mask of kindness while hiding years of cruelty. But the day I chose to speak the truth, it cost me everything. Welcome to False Honor, where raw tales from the East unfold. Here, pride collapses, trust turns to betrayal, and one mistake can destroy a life. Enter a world of hidden motives and lasting consequences. Now onto our story for the day. It was supposed to be a happy time. My parents had planned a trip to Switzerland, a well-deserved holiday. They left me in the care of my grandmother, promising they would be back soon. They arrived safely and rented a car at the airport. There was no Google Maps then, only paper maps. On the way to their hotel, they took a wrong turn down a narrow one-way street. Coming around a sharp curve, my father never saw the massive truck barreling toward them until it was too late. The crash was fatal. The embassy called my uncles and grandmother. The news shattered our family. The trip that was meant to bring joy had ended in tragedy. My grandmother, overwhelmed by grief, became paralyzed. She never walked again. Soon, my parents' bodies were flown home. I was only 5. I remember asking, over and over, "Where's Mom? Where's Dad?" No one told me the truth. The only answer was the sorrow in their eyes. Finally, after a family meeting, my uncles sat me down. "Your mom and dad are now in heaven, little one." I didn't fully understand, but I knew I would never see them again. I cried for days. And so I was placed in the home of my eldest uncle, Ahmed. My new life began. At first, I was too young to truly understand what was happening to me. When you're small, you accept the world as it is. You think every house is like yours, every adult behaves the same way. I only began to notice the cracks in my new life once I reached 3rd grade. By then, it was impossible to ignore. At school, I noticed that my cousins always had shiny new supplies, pens, notebooks, lunch money tucked into their pockets. Every morning, their father, my uncle Ahmed, handed them cash for the canteen. I never received a coin. My breakfast was a small sandwich hastily prepared by the housemaid, barely enough to fill a child's stomach. No matter how hard I tried to be good, it was never enough. My cousins could break things, yell, be clumsy, and my uncle would smile indulgently. If I so much as spilled a drop of water, his voice would thunder through the house. His face would darken, and I'd feel the heavy blow of his hand before I even had time to apologize. What hurt the most wasn't just the beatings, it was the way he enjoyed them. Uncle Ahmed would often strike me in front of his wife and children, taking a strange pleasure in watching them laugh at my humiliation. He would curse me, calling me useless and burden, making sure his children saw me as beneath them. At night, I dreaded hearing his footsteps in the hallway. My small heart would race at every creak of the floorboards, every slam of a door. I learned to sleep lightly, ears alert for danger. If I failed to do a chore perfectly, or if his mood soured for reasons I couldn't understand, punishment would follow. It became clear why he had taken me in, not out of love or family loyalty, but for the image it gave him. In public, Uncle Ahmed thrived on compliments. Neighbors and relatives would say, "What a good man. He took in his orphaned nephew. May God bless him." He'd smile modestly, pretending humility. But in private, he made sure I knew the truth. I was not wanted. He would remind me constantly. "You should thank me," he'd sneer. "None of your other uncles wanted you. If it weren't for me, you'd be sleeping on the street." That crushed whatever small hope I had left. I believed him. I thought there was nowhere else for me to go. So I obeyed. I made myself small. I stopped speaking unless spoken to. I never asked for anything. Not for clothes, not for toys, not for attention. I faded into the background of the house, a shadow among the living. And yet, the beatings never stopped. They only worsened as I grew older, as if my uncle feared I might one day resist. The more I learned, the more I saw the injustice of it all. But the more helpless I felt. At school, my teachers began to notice. They would ask why I came to class with bruises, why I looked so thin and tired. I always gave the same answer. I fell. It was an accident. The truth felt too dangerous to speak, but something inside me longed for freedom. I didn't know how or when, but deep down, I began to wish for a day when the truth would finally come to light. Middle school was the turning point. I had survived elementary school under Uncle Ahmed's rule. Years of silence, fear, and humiliation. But by the time I reached 6th grade, something inside me was changing. I was tired of hiding, tired of pretending I was okay. And that was when Imad came into my life. On the first day of middle school, I was lost, wandering the hallway, searching for my class. I finally found my name on a posted list and took a seat near the back of the classroom. Moments later, a boy with an easy smile and bright eyes plopped down beside me. "Hey," he said, "I'm Imad." That was it. So simple. No judgment, no hesitation. For the first time, someone saw me not as the orphan, not as that poor kid, but as a person. Over the weeks, we became friends. Imad didn't care that I never had money for snacks, or that my clothes were a little worn. He treated me like an equal, something I wasn't used to. One afternoon, after class, Imad noticed me walking home in the blazing sun. "Why do you walk so far? Where's your ride?" "I don't have one," I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's okay. I'm used to it." "Used to it?" "No way," he said, shocked. "From now on, our driver will take you." I hesitated. If Uncle Ahmed found out, there would be hell to pay. But something in Imad's kindness made me want to say yes. And so, quietly, a small corner of my life began to brighten. Every day after school, I would slip into the car with Imad, my heart pounding in fear, but also fluttering with hope. The cool air of the car, the sound of Imad chatting easily with the driver. It felt like a different world. A world where I wasn't a prisoner. But secrets don't stay hidden for long. One terrible day, as the driver dropped me off, I saw him, Uncle Ahmed, standing at the corner of our street, watching. His face darkened instantly. I knew I was in danger. I hurried inside, locked my bedroom door, and braced myself. But within moments, he was pounding on the door, screaming curses. "You dog! How dare you ride with strangers behind my back? Open this door, or I'll kill you." Terror gripped me. I knew what would happen if he got inside. In a blind panic, I opened the window, 2 floors up. My only thought was escape. Without thinking, I leapt. The impact knocked me unconscious. When I awoke, I was in an ambulance, sirens wailing around me. It wasn't love that made Uncle Ahmed call for help. It was fear. Fear that the truth would come out. But the truth was already on its way. I woke up in the hospital groggy, pain coursing through my body. My legs were broken, my arm fractured, bruises covering my ribs. The fall from the window had left me battered, but alive. At first, I didn't understand why the room was so quiet. Then I heard whispers outside my door. My cousins were there. One of them hissed, "When the police come, you say it was your fault. You jumped. You wanted to die because of school. Our father never touched you, understand?" Another cousin chimed in, "And if you tell them the truth, if you even open your mouth, we'll finish what you started. We'll kill you." Their words chilled me. The old fear rose up, that paralyzing fear that had kept me silent for years. But deep inside, something had changed. For the first time, I wasn't 5 years old anymore. I wasn't the helpless little orphan trembling under Uncle Ahmed's fist. I was done. When the officers arrived, a kind-eyed sergeant named Mohammed leading them, I took a breath. My heart pounded as I spoke. "My uncle abused me for years. He beat me, starved me, humiliated me, and I can prove it. They were skeptical until I told them about the recording on my phone hidden beneath my mattress at home. The sergeant sent officers to retrieve it. An hour later, they returned with my phone. As the recording played, everyone in the room went still. On tape, my uncle's voice thundered, "You filthy dog, I'll kill you. You don't deserve to live in my house." The sound of blows echoed, followed by my own cries. Even the captain covered his mouth in shock. They arrested Uncle Ahmed that same night. When my other uncles came to visit, I saw tears in Uncle Mohammed's eyes. "Why didn't you tell us?" he asked gently. I looked down. I was afraid. If I spoke, he would have beaten me worse, and he always told me that no one else wanted me. Uncle Mohammed clenched his jaw. "You are not alone anymore." The courtroom was tense. For weeks, my testimony and the undeniable evidence had been laid bare. Videos of brutal beatings, detailed medical reports, faded scars that told stories older than words. Uncle Ahmad's lawyer grasped for anything to save him, spinning lies about discipline and misunderstandings. But every argument crumbled when faced with cold truth. The judge listened patiently, then spoke with finality. 2 years of hard labor in prison for abuse and assault. News spread fast. To the public, Ahmad was no longer the noble uncle raising an orphan. He was a violent criminal. But for his sons, my cousins, it was unbearable. Humiliated, shunned, they began to burn with hate. Their rage twisted into something darker, a thirst for revenge. Weeks passed. My body slowly healed, but my spirit remained wary. The police maintained a strict watch, knowing the danger wasn't over. But even so, hatred has a way of slipping through cracks. Then came the day I was due to leave the hospital. It was bright. Eid was near. Uncle Mohammed had come to collect me. "You're going home today," he said gently. "Your new home. You'll be safe with me." I was relieved. The horrors of the past year had taken their toll, but the promise of a new chapter gave me hope. We stepped out into the crisp morning air. I barely noticed the 3 figures approaching. Before I could react, they were upon me. My cousins. Blades flashed in the sunlight. "You ruined our father," one hissed. They drove the knives into me, again and again. I stumbled, blood pouring from countless wounds, my vision dimming. Uncle Mohammed screamed, trying to pull them off, but they were wild with rage. By the time help arrived, it was too late. I died there, on the cold ground, beneath the bright morning sky. Word of what happened to me spread fast. The entire city was in shock. The man they once admired, the noble Uncle Ahmad, who raised his orphaned nephew, was now exposed. The recordings, the trial, the truth. It shattered every lie he had built for years. My cousins were taken into custody the very same day. There was no denying what they had done. Too many witnesses, too much evidence. The court moved quickly. They were sentenced to the highest penalty allowed, but with one condition: it would not be carried out until their father, Uncle Ahmad, completed his sentence. So he would have to witness the full consequences of what he had started. And when the day finally came, when Uncle Ahmad, worn down, defeated, no longer the man he used to be, stood in that cold chamber, he watched it all unfold. He wept, not for me, not for what they had done, but for himself and for his son's demise, for the pride that was crushed beneath the full weight of truth. As for Uncle Mohammed, the only one who showed me kindness, he never forgave himself. He still sits alone sometimes, head bowed in prayer. If only we had seen the truth sooner. And me? I am gone, but my voice remains. Because I chose to speak, even when fear told me to stay silent. And in the end, truth will always echo louder than any lie.